Hello and welcome back to the channel. And in today's episode, I wanted to show you and tell you a little bit about positioning in CSS and basic animations. And we'll do this, of course, with React and TypeScript. And our goal here is to create those fancy cards. Well, the first one maybe not so fancy because that is based of let's say my design, but as you can see we have some cool stuff here like this X button and cancel by, and this is of course all connected with or should be connected with events. I forgot to add this one. The other cards we'll be creating are, well, fancier, let's just say that. And these are not something I thought of because, well, it's nice and I'm not a designer, but you can always go to code drops, I believe, code drops, tympans.net. And here you can see they have lots of cool animations in CSS. What I did is I changed that into something that can be used with React. And it's actually pretty challenging if you don't know about positioning and transitions in CSS. And yeah, that's what I wanted to show you today. So let's get going. I'm gonna start by deleting everything in here. And I'm gonna create a new folder and call that product card. And in here, I'm gonna create two new files. It's gonna be product card tsx. And we're not using styled components here. I want to keep it as simple as possible. We'll do all the styling in good old CSS. So for each and every component I'm going to create a CSS file. So let's just call it product card CSS. Let's save that. And we're going to start by just importing CSS here, because if not importing, because if you're styling using a CSS, well, you have to manually import the style sheets to make them work. Okay, so I'm going to just bootstrap a new component here. It's going to be product card, and for now let's just return anything. And let's just make it appear on the screen. So export default product card, and let's import that here. So that's going to be a product card, takes no props for now, and just import product card from product card. And oh yeah, the correct path. That okay. So this is the very basic. We have that set up. What I wanted to create is some kind of product card, maybe for some kind of shoe shop. I'm playing basketball right now, so some kind of sports shoes could be nice. And add a little bit of animation to it to explain the transitions and positioning. So let's start by defining the props. It's always a good start. So I'm going to take it to the bottom since it's not really that important. Interface product card props. I'm going to say on accept button. So whenever someone clicks accept the button, like add to cart, maybe we can make it add to cart, or even on add to cart pressed. Okay. That's gonna be some kind of function on reject. So decides that those shoes won't fit. On close, because maybe you'd like to close that cart, maybe you're presenting this in some kind of model. Title is a string, and we have a price for the shoes. Yeah. Okay, so we can now inform the React component about the props it should take. That's of course product card props. So we have that. And now the structure of each and given card. You could go with div, and that would be definitely correct. But what I'm gonna go with is this cool tag called figure. Okay. And if we search for it, figure HTML, the HTML element represents self-contained content, potentially with an optional caption. Sounds pretty correct to me when we're talking about HTML semantic. So I figure we're gonna go with that. We have a card. No, we don't have a card tag yet. I can predict that, well, coming, since it's so common right now to do the card, some kind of card design. Okay, let's unpack our props. It's gonna be on close, on add to cart pressed, on reject, title, and the price. Okay, everything we need. So we're gonna start by creating some kind of class name here, and that would be the common denominator for every part of a CSS file that we do here for styling, because these styles, once we import them, they're kind of global. They're not separate like in side component. They're not self-contained. So there can be some kind of issue with overlapping and namespacing. Therefore, unfortunately, we have to use some distinguished class names. That's why I prefer stuff like side components or emotion when it comes to styling in React. Okay, I'm gonna do a div here, and I'm gonna say that this is gonna be some class, let's say metadata, and we will have the title here and maybe the span for the price, and that's gonna be just something like gonna take the price and add a $sign right here and close it, and it's undefined. Okay, let's move to the most important thing, which is gonna be the image. If you're looking for images when you're doing some stuff in React or doing some exercises, you can go to the Unsplash and search for anything you need, and you'll get it. I'm gonna go with this URL because it looks cool and it's Nike. So the SRC attribute, and we have a big image of shoes, and we're gonna add alt attribute. Well, let's just say sport shoes. Okay, you can do an image. I took that one and it fits right in. Okay. The next step, well, let's start styling it, because now it looks just awful. So I'm going to go into product card, CSS, and let's start figuring that out. So product card. I'm going to set the width just to limit that a little bit. Product card. Okay. It should apply, but it does not apply to image yet. So that's why you're seeing this so big still. So let's go to the image. Product card, image. Let's set the min height to auto, I believe. Product card. It should work. Let's see. Product card. Max width. For any reason, this is way too big. Oh, I think I know why. Okay, so I'm going to create a CSS file that's going to be shared across all the cards. Oh, it's already there. Never mind. Yep, delete that. So let's style all of our cards with, we're gonna limit the width here, actually. Let's set the max width to this. Okay, is that imported already? It is. Okay, then we have max height of something like that. And it's still not working. All right, maybe just let me add the styling to the image. So that's gonna be min height. Just scale it nicely, and max width. Okay, now we have something. I'm gonna add opacity of 0.8 to make it a little bit more transparent, just a little bit. And I'm gonna say, no, we're fine for now. I'm gonna add position relative here. Okay, so let me explain position absolute and position relative here. As you might imagine, I would like my wonderful title and price appear inside and on top of the card rather than, well, somewhere above. So like maybe here in the top left corner. And basically what happens in HTML, the content flows from left to right and from top to bottom as the HTML or JSX is being parsed. And this is the way that the stuff is being rendered. Whenever you'd like to distort that natural flow and place things on top of each other, you have to use stuff like position sticky or position absolute and relative. What you do, let me just draw that for you. And let's do, not that, clear canvas, thank you. So basically what we're getting is a card, right? And I would like to place a button here, some stuff here, and then maybe buttons at the bottom. So I have to figure out what HTML node is going to be a container for each element I would like to render other elements on top of. In that case, this is like our common parent, right? Therefore, we're marking this as relative, position relative, okay? And then every element we'd like to render on top of that relative parent, we mark with position absolute. This is then being a container for the absolute elements with new coordinate system of x and I believe y. Okay, so imagine I would like that element to be 4 pixels from the top and 4 pixels from the left, right? Then I'm just gonna say that the positioning of that element should be absolute, and it should have top and left of 4 pixels. What will happen if there's no parent that has a position relative? Well, browser is going to start searching the DOM tree from a given element going up, okay, until it's going to find the first parent node that has position absolute. And if there's none, it will try to use the window or your document, the whole window as the parent that has the relative attribute, even if you don't specify it. Okay, so let's try that. I'm gonna start with my, well, let's just pass some stuff here. So I'm gonna pass the title red cool shoes, and then I'm gonna pass another thing that's gonna be price. Let's set it to 60. And I said that's gonna be a string, gonna make it a number. Okay, and now I would like to place that on the tab. So let's first try without specifying the position. Have that already. Okay, let's first try without specifying the position relative on the figure. So on the parent of metadata, because the figure is a parent for that div. So I'm just gonna say product card metadata is going to have position absolute. Okay. And then I'm gonna say top 4 pixels and left 4 pixels. Okay. As you can see here, let me just move it here. Now the metadata is placed regarding to the window, not to our figure, because our figure is, well, right here, right? But if I'm gonna add position relative here, see, now this position of the absolute child is being calculated in regards to the figure, because it has position relative. If I remove it, it's been calculated, I believe, in regards to body, right? So this is how you can place elements on top of each other by using position relative and absolute. One interesting thing to note, let's just add that position real quick when I reuse it. So I'm going to add it here. Is that our metadata text now, instead of being black as it's supposed to be, is being rendered as this reddish tint. This is because that elements in HTML are not only positioned on the X and Y axis, but you can also stack them on top of each other with the Z axis. And there's a property for that called Z index, which tells basically how far in the Z axis given element should be placed. If I bump it to 1, if I'm going to change the opacity of the image to 1, right, it still doesn't look good. It has a strange color to it. So to fix that, I'm just going to take the product card and I'm going to add set index and set it to 1. And now the color is correct. Okay. Moving on with our wonderful design. I was pretty sure I could do all the cards in one video, but that would take too long. So we're gonna just split it in cards. I'm gonna make the top render around it. So let's do border top left radius and set to 8 pixels, and border top right radius and set to 8 pixels. Okay. That should work. Should I specify it more? Let me just see that. Figure. Should we remove the margin? Why is it not rounded? Should I do it for the image? Oh yeah, okay. Now it makes sense. Or maybe just change it to that. That's also fine. Okay, so about our wonderful metadata. I'm gonna add the color, set it to white. Okay, that's better. Also, I'm gonna take the H1, is it H1? H3, sorry. H3, and I'm gonna take the P elements and I'm gonna reset the margin for those. Okay, that looks way better now. Okay, so this is the base. Maybe just move it a little bit from the edge. Now it looks better. What I would like to add now is that X button that you could possibly use for closing the card. So let's just do that. I'm gonna say button. Class name is gonna be close, and on click it's gonna be, well, on close. Okay, well, as you can see here, I would like to place it in the top right corner. Now it's just below our card, so that's not correct. We can definitely fix this with the positioning, with the position absolute. Come on. But first thing I would like to change is, actually I would like to add that nice X icon to it. So what I can do here in Code Sandbox, and tell me whether you'd like me to keep coding in VSC. I just found that coding in Code Sandbox is actually kind of nice, to be honest. Especially for that small things where I'm just showing one concept. So here you can add the dependencies, just like in package.json, and I'm adding React icons. So that's that. That package makes it really easy to add icons to your project. And then also I'm gonna be nice guy and add the types. So React icons. Come on. React icons. Okay, we have that. And now I'm just gonna import the close icon from material design icons, and that's the one named md close. Just that. So we're gonna import that. Import from React icons material design, and we're gonna take md close. Okay, and we're gonna put it here. Okay, kind of nice, but we can make it look better, and we definitely should. So yeah, let's start this bad boy. So going to the close, it's gonna be product card button close. So we're searching for a button with close class. I'm gonna set the background color to white. Okay, we have to change the border because by default you get this, I don't know why, so but you get this ugly ugly insets border. And as you can see right now, the X sign itself, it's not being properly aligned into the bounding rectangle of a button. But we can fix that by setting display flex and just, I believe, align items center or display. Maybe that's enough. Okay, that looks reasonable. I'm gonna make it square. I'm gonna make it circular. Sorry. Okay, that's not really what I wanted, and this is happening because we didn't specify the width and the height. So let's add that 32 pixels and a height of 32 pixels. And it seems because we specify the height, we have to justify content to center. Okay, let's make it drop shadow just a little bit to make it look nicer. RGBA and make it a bit transparent. Okay, it does look kind of cool. Position absolute, top 4 pixels, right 4 pixels, and that's going to move it to the top right corner of the cart. Right. Oh, now it's good. Okay. And I believe if we click it, we can click it. Why is that? Maybe because it's being rendered behind the card. So let's add the Z index too. Still nothing. Did I add on close? That's on close. Maybe because we didn't pass. Yeah, we didn't pass anything here. Let's add it. It's going to be a really simple function. Console log on close. Okay. Well, definitely we should do change the pointer. So pointer is going to be a cursor. It's going to be a pointer. Okay. Now it's nice. But I would like to change it a little bit. I would like that button to sort of come into the cart whenever someone hovers on our cart. So what we can do is we can change the initial opacity to 0. So it's gone. But the problem then is if you change the opacity, it's still being rendered, it's just not visible. So I can still click it, as you can see, and get the event. But we can disable that with CSS pointer events none, I believe. And then as you can see, we don't have a cursor and we don't trigger the function. And this is a nice trick whenever you'd like to hide the button temporarily. You just set the pointer events to none and you can receive any click events on that button. Okay, so now we'd like to show it. Whenever someone hovers on our card, we'll add button close. Okay, and we're gonna change the opacity to 1. So whenever someone hovers on the card, as you can see here, this hover pseudo class is going to be attached to the card, not to the button. But we change the button styling. Okay, so now as you can see, it just pops boop boop and it stays on whenever someone is with the cursor over the card. But we have to change the pointer events to be able to click it again, and that's gonna be all. So I can still trigger it, but only when someone hovers on the card. So that's kind of cool. The problem now is our opacity is being changed like immediately. And it would be good to smooth it out with some kind of animation. And we can do that by using transitions in CSS. So the way you do that is you specify the starting value somewhere along the way in your CSS when you should, when the value is going to be changed, you specify the end value. For us, this is going from 0 to 1, and the change is being done on the hover. And then you use the transition property, and you have to specify at least 2 things here. What value should be, what property should be transitioned in CSS, and that for us is going to be opacity, and how long should it take? And we're going to go with 1 second. And now this value, this property, sorry, is going to be transitioned from 0 to 1 on hover, and the transition is gonna take 1 second. So now if I hover over it, boop, it shows fading in, and that's really nice. Okay, the other thing we could do is just to add a little bit of funk here. We can also move it a little bit whenever someone hovers, just to bring the attention to the button. And we can do that with the transform property. Okay. And here I'm gonna use translate, and as you can see, you have translate and translate 3D, or just translate over one axis. And I'm going to translate in the y-axis, so I'm going to bring it down a little bit. I'm going to say 4 pixels. Okay, so you can see it jumps a little bit whenever I'm hovering, right? And we can also smooth it out by adding another transition here. And what I'd like to transition here is the transform property, which is being changed. So transform, also 1 second. Let's see what happens now. Okay. It's not very prominent. Because I have a typo. Let's try it now. You can see it's slide just ever so slightly and then goes back up. So that's kind of cool. And of course, you still have your function working. And we're 36 minutes in, so that's a little bit longer than I expected. But we still have to do one thing. Of course, we'd like to show the buttons at the very bottom of the card to, I don't know, remove it from or reject that model or reject that card or add it to the card. So let's go to our TSX and let's start working on that. I'm going to create a div here. I'm going to add a class name. And that's going to be bottom sheet. And then I'm going to add 2 buttons. One's going to be, let's say, cancel. And the second one's going to be buy. Okay. Of course, I'm going to attach the on click. Let's close that for a second. We don't need that. I'm going to add on click event handler here. It's going to be on reject, and then here on click, I'm going to say on add to cart rest. On add to cart. Better. So I have to change that and that. Okay, then of course we have to specify it. So on add to cart, pass anything here. Probably in the real life you'd have some kind of promise here that maybe adds it to the cart that's being created on the server or something like this. So add on cart and then on reject, right? We're gonna say just console log on reject. Okay, basically everything we need, and it is working. Okay, but as you can tell right now, it's not being shown in the right place. We'd like to have it here and maybe popping out from the button actually once you hover over this wonderful design. Let's start with our bottom sheet. I'm gonna say product card bottom sheet. I'm going to give it a background color of a little bit of transparent white, so 255, 255, 5, get rid of that. And of course, I would like to bring it to the bottom of our card. I'm going to use position absolute, and I'm going to say bottom 0, left 0. Okay, I'm going to set the width of 100%, and we can see that it's starting to display over our card. I'm going to add the padding of 16 pixels. Okay, and it should be at the bottom here, but if you take a look at it, yeah, it's going like over our card, even it's a child of our card. This is because by default padding is being added to the width of your DOM node. What I would rather have is our padding being already calculated in to the width, right? You can change the way that's being calculated by using box sizing property, and we're gonna add the value border box, which should fix that. And now you can see that it is displayed perfectly within the bounding rectangle of our card, and everything is positioned correctly. So let's close that. Next step is gonna be me just copying the radius just to match the design a little bit. Now it's being a little bit rounded. Now we have to display the buttons correctly. I'm going to do that by using flex and saying justify content space around. Okay, and that's really nice. Now, what I would like to achieve here is whenever someone hovers over our design, I would like this bottom sheet to rise from the bottom and then being visible. So it shouldn't be visible from the very beginning. And there's a one way to do it that you can use, and I think that's gonna be really nice. I'm gonna scale it to 0, scale on the y-axis, so it has like 0 height, right? And then whenever someone hovers over that, I'm gonna scale it up. So basically, I'm gonna do that, add hover here, because we'd like to hover over card. Then I'm gonna set the transform scale y, and this is going from 0 to 1, so 1. Okay, it pops out, but again, this popping out is a little bit aggressive. So let's try and animate it a little bit. Okay, and that's not gonna be so hard. I'm gonna just do transition transform 1 second. And here's an interesting problem. As you can see here, this is being scaled and it's animating, but it's animating from the center rather than rising from the bottom. And this is because the animation, stuff like rotating or scaling, has what's called transform origin. And this Let me just maybe show you. Transform origin CSS. This is telling the animation where should be the pivot point or starting scaling point for given animation. Here you can see it's being rotated at the center, but if you change it to the top left, that's the point of origin for that animation. The place where a given element is being attached for rotation or scaled from in the scaling. And it can be customized, as you can see here, right? So what we'd like to change it to is transform origin. Now it's a center, I believe. Yeah. So we're gonna change it to the bottom. And now it shows as we wanted. And then of course we can just check where everything is working, and it would seem so. So here we go. This is how we can create a simple product card in ReactJS with CSS. What you should take from that lesson are basically two things: that doing some simple animations with CSS isn't so hard. You basically just transition the property that you would like to animate. And then what is more important is the positioning, right? Whenever you'd like to place one thing on top of each other, you should mark the parent with position relative, and then absolutely position the child using position absolute, and you have to provide the top or bottom and left or right so that the browser can calculate the position of given element. And also sometimes you have to add the Z index to set it properly on the Z axis. So that took longer than I imagined, but thank you for that. And I'm going to see you in the next one. And in the next episode, we'll work on those fancy cards that I showed you at the beginning of the video. So please comment, like, and subscribe. The channel is growing, which makes me really happy and motivated. Bye-bye.